きなり英語になるんでしょ。日本語だったりしてずっと。Alright, Nate, it's been a while.
Yeah.
Like 2 months ago?
Yeah, it was just
about a month and a half.
A month and a half, almost 2 months ago. Yeah.
So I'm basically going all around Japan. So
Yeah.
I don't come to Kanto so much. So
Yeah, well, you do. You're everywhere.
Once in about a month or 2 months. So
right.
yeah, we had a chance to. We have a seminar today
Mhm.
in Kodaira, so that's why I just dropped by.
Right.
So
Yeah.
thanks for the video the other day.
Oh no, thank you.
A lot of
It was
people
cool.
saw it actually. 37,000 view or something.
Yeah, it's a good amount of views.
So, what are we going to talk about?
Well, let's see.
We have no topic today.
We don't have anything on the menu here to discuss, so I think we can just kind of throw out some random ideas
Yeah,
and stuff.
yeah, yeah.
Well, let's see. Well, the election, I think that's pretty much been talked about. I mean,
Which one?
The U.S.
Japanese
election? Well,
yes,
there's
the
that
Japanese
one
election
too.
coming up too.
Right.
Election. I mean, we're having our election first
Okay, yeah.
in about the end of October, and
Okay.
then after that, U.S. election. Maybe something related. I mean,
Oh.
Ishiba-san was saying that he's not going to have election until like after some discussion.
Mhm.
But all of a sudden, when he became the prime minister, he said he's going to do the election before the U.S. election.
Right.
Maybe that's related or not.
Is there anything, do you think, like, he's preempting the U.S. election for a reason? He wants to
I
get...
don't know. Maybe. I mean, maybe there's something we don't know.
Oh, okay.
Because there's always a lot of things which we don't know.
Right. Hidden agendas, yeah.
I mean, people conspire. Basically,
Right.
people conceal. That's the fact.
Mm-hmm.
So we probably have to realize that that's been going on for a long time,
Mm-hmm.
and probably all the mass media are not reporting what they should.
Of course.
So we need to have alternative view. Regardless of it's true or not, it's always important to think that there might be something else because it's not all revealed and it's not all true. So
Right.
you always have to have reasonable doubt.
Right.
Yeah.
Or at least you have to have a safe space to express your opinions,
Yeah,
regardless
I know.
of how crazy they are.
Right.
It's,
I mean, people, sometimes people are attacking that as a conspiracy theory or something.
Right.
But,
misinformation.
yeah. Well, you don't know. You never know. So
Yeah.
The people who are attacking conspiracy theory do not know everything. So
Right.
yeah.
Exactly. That's the importance of free speech, definitely.
Yeah. So U.S. election. Yeah.
To be honest, like
Which one do you think is going to win?
I don't know, but after our last video, our last meeting, I kind of put myself on a news fasting. Like I haven't watched any news at all related to politics or anything else. And I realized I try to keep away from it because I know there's so much of it's one-sided, and whether it's red or blue, left or right. I mean, it's just it's so polarized. It's hard to get an actual unbiased, objective view of it. So I caught myself before that. I realized I was watching a lot of it, and I was actually I realized I was getting emotionally pulled in that direction and kind of knocked off balance. And I realized, okay, this isn't a good thing. And so I decided, I was going to, take a break from all news, from reading news articles, watching YouTube videos about politics and stuff like that. And I realized after about a week or two, I think, of not watching it, it really brought me back into, my center, and I was able to have a more objective view of things and not get so emotionally, like when people would mention an issue, like for example, immigration or raising taxes or foreign defense and stuff like that. I mean, of course, I had my own natural kind of beliefs and preconceived notions, but I was more neutral, and I was able to kind of, understand both sides of the argument rather than be, just kind of like this, all clenched up and ready to fight for my viewpoint or whatever.
Yeah. Besides, you're outside of the country as well.
Right. Exactly.
Can you vote from here?
If I wanted to, I could. Yeah.
Okay.
But
Are you going to?
I don't think so.
So you let people in the States decide then?
I let people in the States decide. Yeah. I thought that makes me feel like irresponsible, but yeah.
Well, yeah, that's your choice. I mean, I don't really force anyone to do or not to do anything. I mean, I think that's I think a natural flow of whole direction of the earth. I guess. I think we're becoming more and more free.
Yeah.
Free of any kind of notion or maybe even rules. I think we're essentially very very free beings.
Yeah.
But for a very long time, we've been trapped in all kinds of rules or common sense or and basically everything what your parents taught you to do.
Right. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah.
Um,
That's interesting. We were just before we started this video, we were kind of talking about topics that we might bring up, and there's one thing I just heard about the other day that we were just discussing that I thought was really interesting. It's a theory by a French, I think he was a literary professor, and his name is René Girard, and he came up with a theory called mimetic theory, which means that we as human beings, our wants and our desires, they're not things that we're necessarily born with. Like everyone has the need for food, for survival, reproduction, and the basic kind of born ingrained needs. But other than that, like when we, for example, if we want a gold watch or a Lamborghini or a big house or things like that, almost every desire other than our base desires are programmed and they're learned by seeing what other people have and what other people do. And so when we're kids, we're trained basically, at first, the people that are closest to us, our parents and our friends, and when we go to school, our classmates and things like that, we see what they have, and we see, like for example, if they have this pen, and you might not necessarily have any interest whatsoever in the pen when you're 6 years old, but if all your classmates are wanting this pen, and everybody starts, they go home and they tell their parents they want a pen, and they buy a pen and they get it, then all of a sudden, at some point, you too, you adapt or you mime, you copy their desire, and it becomes yours. And if you're not aware of it, that desire becomes subconsciously ingrained into yourself. And in the extreme cases, you might fight a friend because they have a pen you don't, beat your friend up and take his pen. But if you look at it, that's not something that's necessarily a part of it at all. It's completely learned from outside sources. And when we extrapolate this to a larger scale, like countries or cultures and things like that, war and religions and things like that, all of these larger societies, basically, they move and they're predicated upon these desires, seeing what other people have, wanting to take it, and fighting over basically scarce and limited resources, things like that. But the bigger picture, when you look at it, it's like all these things we're not born with them. And if we're conscious and we're aware of the programming, then we can kind of set ourselves free from it, and we can realize, okay, well, I don't necessarily need this. Having that might make me satisfied, but it doesn't bring true happiness. And when you see like spiritual masters and people, that are, you might call enlightened, they're just as happy having absolutely nothing, sitting and watching a sunset, as they are if they were to take, for example, a cruise on a yacht in the Mediterranean and eat caviar and live an extreme, luxurious lifestyle. They feel the same level of happiness. There's no difference. So I just thought that was interesting.
Yeah, that's interesting too. But I think if you're talking about some luxurious thing, probably those needs you might have is probably transferred from someone else. But if you talk about the essential needs, like food and water and those kind of things, you still have like basic needs for survival, right? Maybe we might be fighting for it for next decade or so, because we kind of had we started to have the limited scarce resources like water, food, but I don't know, maybe we're entering an era that why we have this need for those necessary thing like food, water, because we need to survive, right? Do we need to survive? Maybe we're kind of opening the new era that being here in this dimensional world might be not so important. I mean, after death, what are we going to do? I mean, what happens to ourselves after we die? There are a lot of I don't know. There are a lot of ideas about what happens after we die. I mean, we've been thinking that after death, there's nothing, or maybe we don't do something good, we go to hell or something like that. I mean, religion has been teaching us that we should do this, we should not do this in this current world, because after death you get punished after that.
Yeah.
What do you think of that kind of notion? I mean,
oh no, absolutely. When you say about that's another thing I've thought about. That's another level of depth. Surviving and like you said, basic needs. That only makes sense to the extent that you believe that your own survival is the most paramount thing in your life. If you allow the possibility that that's not the case, that this is just maybe if if you were born and you only lived maybe 2 or 3 years and you died or whatever, it's not necessarily the length or the actual survival itself. It's what you experience, and being born into this body and in this world is kind of like a gym where you train and you have all the different experiences and different things. And so in that case, quantity is not at all equivalent to quality of life, what you experience. So is surviving, is it necessarily thriving, or what are you gaining? Are there diminishing returns after living a certain amount of time? And that's something I've thought about from a higher level spiritually, is why do human beings only have lifespans of, say, on average 75 years or 80 years? It's, in ancient traditions like, in the Judeo-Christian tradition, people, you can say this is true, or you can argue this is true or not, but people lived much longer in the past, maybe hundreds of years. And I think the reason why, from a spiritual perspective, why people don't live long is because the general level of consciousness on Earth is such that if we were to live 200 years or 300 years, there wouldn't be, the amount of experience we could have is limited because our world is limited. But I think now that we're moving into an era where there's more awakeness and people are more aware of their own spiritual nature and other, higher realms as well, that I think it would be possible, and it would make more sense now to live longer because there is more to experience. There's a whole other world that's being opened with the expansion of consciousness. So that's another thing I've kind of thought about.
Yeah. I mean, maybe we're in an era of that whole generation and on Earth are becoming a spiritual master.
Yeah. No, definitely. Yeah, I agree.
So from that point of view, I think all the things we're doing in politics are meaningless. But
yes.
But still, since we're living in this world, it's our free choice to do anything in that. I mean, if we like to make this world a better place, it's our choice. I mean, it's something we might have fun doing it. So
yeah, definitely. Yeah. I think the problem is it's like anything. If I've noticed that people that are so focused on the world around them and problems that they really don't have much impact on in their day-to-day life, they think by like political problems, they think okay, but if worrying about the problem, for example, a big one is occupation of like senkakushoto, things like that here in Japan. Like, of course it's a problem, and yes, the worrying about that and seeing that and letting that upset you, that's only going to diminish your own quality of life. You know what I mean? So focusing too small on that's, on the kind of three-dimensional materialistic things is one problem. Another problem that we were talking about before is people that are have their heads in the clouds spiritually. They've kind of lost their grounding and they're floating up. And when you're completely, in that realm, you lose the meaning to have been born in a body,
in this world,
right? Yeah. So it's like what's the purpose? And so kind of finding the happy medium in between, and kind of using that to help bring the world up. And I think the tool has been politics, or that's right now it's what it is. It's using an agreed upon system of government and using that to kind of orchestrate change in society slowly but surely. So that's where we are. Yeah, that's what
Yes,
that's your job.
Yeah, I know. I mean, there are a lot of people who are coming to my seminars, thing like that, and a lot of people are, uh, gathering a lot of information about what's going on in the world, like especially in politics or financial system, economics, and a lot of people get really nervous about it and kind of get fear. But well, if you do that too much, you lose your daily life, daily happy life. So I'm always saying to them that don't worry too much about it because there's not much you can do about it. I mean, of course you can do something about it if you have an opportunity or if you have an access to something. But in daily life, what you do is everything. If you live your life which you want to have, that's most of the thing which you feel in your whole life.
Yeah.
So that's more important than the world, which might look like collapsing now, but it's more important you worry about your own business. So yeah.
It seems like a paradox to me too. It's because people, when they think that if they don't worry about these problems, if they're not concerned about them, then they're going to escalate and get out of control. But it's only really, I think, when you let go of your kind of your attachment to these problems and these worries and anxieties that you have, and like you said, you just live your own individual life. And by doing that, it's like that's where the paradox is. It's you look from the outside like you're unconcerned, but by keeping yourself at peace inside and not being concerned by these things, you kind of show an example to people around you, and that effect spreads. And it's like and that actually can change society too, or on small levels and larger levels. And that's kind of what's interesting. It's like by focusing too much on the problem, you're actually adding fuel to the fire.
Right. So you're not there. You're not here. I mean,
you're not present.
You can only be here, and what you see, what you hear is everything. But what you hear as an information is not in front of you. You're not really seeing it. You're not actually hearing it.
Right.
But if you worry too much about it, you're not here. So that's the paradox, and that's probably the essence of being in this dimensional world. Yeah, I mean, most of the thing which I'm basically talking to people right now is that, I mean, of course I talk about politics or financial system, but the reason why I do that is it is such a false system. So you don't worry about it, and instead you worry about your own life. That's you don't get too much caught about it. You actually root yourself to now here. I think that's our theme now in this world and in this era, I guess.
Right.
So coming back to the presidential election.
Yes. So it's.
I mean, I don't believe in that, Q anonymous
No,
type
I
of
don't
thing.
believe that.
I mean, Trump is saving the world and everything like that.
No. What I think, I mean, this is what I tell people, and I think many level-headed people, I don't know if they would admit it openly because there's fear of like canceling and stuff on social media, but what most people would say is that in this, with these two candidates in the given situation right now in the U.S., that the Trump is objectively, in terms of economy and moving the country in a direction for it's kind of gotten off the rails to putting it back on the rails. He makes the most logical sense. He's self-serving and but his goals are aligned with kind of like getting things back on track and kind of moving the country back in that direction. So I would say and he's against the kind of entrenched bureaucracy and the like we would call the deep state kind of thing like that. And from that perspective, it's like the lesser of two evils, and it makes sense. So yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people, whether or not they would admit it openly, they share some version of that.
I think if you want to make some kind of change after this election, maybe Trump may create some change because the Harris seems to be right on the track of what's been going on for like I don't know how many years.
Yeah.
At least 4 years, but even before that,
Sure.
kind of Democrat that's been going to, they don't seem liberal at all.
No, not
For me,
anymore.
I mean.
Yeah, that's changed. Yeah.
So it's time to change something. It could be more interesting if Trump wins, but who knows?
Right. Now, this is what I want to ask because this is your area of expertise. What would you say Trump does win? What would be the immediate impact, do you think, on the economy in the U.S. and then Japan? What would you?
I think Trump, he's a businessman, so he worries more about American deficit and American debts.
Mm-hmm.
So probably first thing he would like to do is like do something about it. So he will be kind of protectionist type of thing. So which means he's not going to import too much. He's going to export. So he's going to put some taxes on the imported goods. So taxation and also maybe he's worried so much about his American deficit. He's going to do something with his military spending.
Okay.
I mean, once he was president, he was saying like he doesn't probably hesitate to pull all the U.S. troops out of the other countries.
Okay,
So,
right.
So maybe he's trying to get rid of the U.S. Force in Japan. A lot of bases here in Japan. If we tell him when he becomes a president, tell him we don't want any American forces here in Japan, he would say okay, no problem.
Sure. Right.
But I think the Japanese people who don't want U.S. troops out of the country because they're so worried about North Korea or China.
Chinese invasion.
I mean that's our problem. So we have to be more independent to decisively get them out of the country. So yeah, Trump would be like that based on the observation what he's done while he was in presidency before. So the relation between Japan and U.S., I think he would Japan to be more independent.
Okay. He would encourage that.
Yeah, his personality seems to be that way.
Yeah.
I think that's a good thing for Japan because we have to be apparently independent.
Yeah.
We're a country, different country, but we haven't really acted like that. So.
Right.
We've been very, very dependent on the States, which is our problem, not U.S. problem, because most people in the States don't really care about it.
True. That's true.
We've been very dependent because probably we're dependent people as an individual. As an individual, as I said in the previous video, we're not really independent. We always rely on something. So that's our problem.
Right. Well, he would be in a position to encourage more independence and to kind of be. I think, like you said, he would be if the Japanese government and the officials showed a movement towards they wanted to take more initiative and be more independent. He would be supportive of that. He wouldn't be trying to stifle that independence. So that's it. Yeah, I think that's encouraging. That reminds me of something else. It's kind of different. It has to do with. Trump's policies with China before, but it's kind of a different topic I wanted to ask you about and get your opinion on because it has to do with the economy as well. One of the reasons that China, I think, experienced so much growth, and one of the things that Trump was trying to rein in was when American factories or Japanese factories would expand to China, as part of the agreement with the Chinese government to allow business, they would have to open source or basically share their IP, their intellectual property with the Chinese government. And a lot of companies and stuff there would kind of take that IP and they would make copies or they would use it to build their own technology. And that, as a byproduct, helped increase their economy. What do you think about the system of IP and patents as a whole? Right now,
in a bigger picture, or
well, that's the thing. Yeah, I mean, 'cause,
in the bigger picture.
In the bigger picture.
In the bigger picture, a patent and those things are very, very human. I mean, I'm a human too, but it's everything. Any kind of invention are based on the inventions in the previous era. I mean, none of us invent on their own. So all the inventions and everything, patents should be shared by all the people.
Yes.
So this, this patent thing are based on the capitalism.
Yes.
All the things basically rights and ownership and rights and the owner gets everything.
Yes.
That's very human, and that kind of idea should be changed, I guess, over the time. Now a lot of people are realizing this is not right, and this is only rich people make richer.
Yeah.
So,
It's I think at first, when it first came out, the concept of patents was to protect the inventor, especially small individual inventors who come up with an idea, so it wouldn't be taken by a large corporation, and they would get, the inventor would get nothing. And it was initially, I think, to protect that and to encourage the growth of new ideas and development of new ideas. But it's been hijacked, I think, and patents, what the companies they'll buy up patents, and rather than taking what they've purchased and then producing it and allowing society to benefit from it, they put it away in a box, never to see the light of day, or they want to squeeze every last profit that they can out of their existing things, and then maybe they might use a new technology. But I think it's really in the last maybe 40 or 50 years has stifled.
Yeah, I mean, because the last 40, 50 years, all the developments of human developments have the fruit of developments hasn't been shared with a lot of people, because even this 40, 50 years, a lot of the technical inventions and everything, but all the workers are not getting more of it. I mean, all the workers are working as hard as we used to be, and we're getting as less than before.
Yeah.
And all the fruit of developments are just owned by capitalists.
Right.
So that's a fact.
It is. It's interesting because my wife's her father used to work for a large electronics manufacturer here in Japan as an engineer, and he came up with an idea. I think it was maybe 20 years ago, that saved the company. It was a patent, patented technology that saved the company, hundreds of thousands of dollars. And he was given, as a reward, I think 1,000 yen book or gift certificate and a pat on the back. I mean, it's like, I understand. I mean, part of working for a company is you do give up, your own, a part of your own claim to that, and it benefits the company. But I mean, it's completely out of proportion, distorted.
Right.
Like that sort of thing, and the company makes how much money, because of that, and then, I think it's
yeah, the fact that only 1% of the world population have like 80% of the whole wealth.
Yeah,
that explains everything. That's how the system works.
Right.
So,
well, what do you think? Is there a way though that we could, without, because a complete instant change, I think, would many people would fear would cause chaos and things in the system. Is there a way we would be able to transition to more of an open society that encourages that, while at the same time preserving, the rights and the freedoms of the individual?
Yeah, I think if only people change. One time, this is about a few weeks ago, one of the guy who owns a company. He runs a company. He came to me. That was the second time he came to me, and last time when he listened to what I said, and he decided that he's not going to make any money. His company is not going to make money.
Really?
And, yeah, I mean, he decided. He realized that his profit is someone's loss.
Right.
So if he doesn't make any money, his company doesn't make any money, that means someone is not losing.
Okay, like a zero-sum game. Okay, gotcha, yeah.
If the whole companies in Japan decide not to make any profit, no one make profit. So that means no one has to pay any tax. No company has to pay tax.
Right.
And no one loses.
Right.
And it's just it's just money just go around, but nobody keeps it.
Yeah.
And I think that's more like we're going to the no takers, no givers. Everyone's basically happy and just
circulate
the wealth,
the wealth,
money,
right.
and everything.
So there's no incentive. So in that case, it would be there's no incentive to have a continually growing profit margin just to benefit the stakeholders. It's you cover your costs, but there's no excess.
I mean, yeah. I mean,
Okay.
the changing this capitalist system is not easy because it's all written in a law and everything.
Yeah.
But if you change your mind and if you're owner of the company or just manager of the company, if everyone, all the owners of the company decide we're not going to make any money in this society,
Right.
that changes everything instantly without
That's
changing any kind of law or even these patents and everything.
Right.
Even if you have patent, you forget revenue. But if you decide not to make any money, you can give away. You can you can do anything about it.
Well, yeah, or you could raise. I mean, you could lower the cost of what product you're selling to benefit society that way. You could raise the wages of the workers.
Yeah.
There's so many different things you could do to balance it rather than that excess. Yeah, that is an excellent idea. I think actually, I think it would require, in order to actually affect change on a global scale, it would take many like-minded individuals, stakeholders of companies, to do that. But that's definitely something that could be done within the framework of the system.
It's not easy for big companies because the shareholders are so many, and basically they're not they're only interested in making money.
Right.
So, but small companies, because 99% of the whole companies here in Japan and here in the States, any kind of country, 99% are small companies.
Oh, wow.
I mean, here in Japan, 99.3. In the States, 99.7 or something. Most companies are small.
Wow.
If you count the number of the companies.
Right.
But if you count the number of the workers, it's a little bit different. But
yeah, that's true. What do you think? This is something I've seen in my own lifetime that I can actually appreciate because I've seen it and I felt it. There didn't used to be in the past. Like U.S. companies were more like, I think, traditional Japanese companies in regards to, of course, they wanted to make a profit, but there was, a slow, steady growth was considered to be acceptable. So if a company was not making like double-digit growth each year or exponential growth, that was much more the exception than the rule. It was making enough money to cover costs and maybe a small, modest profit for shareholders. And by pursuing that, the prices of the products were relatively stable. There was no huge increase from year to year, and it seemed like most people were happy. But this is another thing, over the last maybe 20 or 30 years, with stakeholders kind of with large acquisitions and mergers and stuff, there's been this unquenchable kind of thirst to have ridiculous, double-digit profits. Now, a company's not considered to be good if they're not making double-digit profits or making 10x, 100x, or whatever. What do you think brought that about? Like that. I mean, that this relentless pursuit of more and more and more.
I think that's what's called neoliberalism in 1980s when Reagan and Thatcher started to privatize everything,
Right.
And Milton Friedman.
Friedman
Started to say, if you privatize everything, if you let the free market take care of business, it's all okay. It wasn't actually. Free market is basically a jungle. I mean,
it's not free. Like it's
not free at all. It's just you're free if you have a lot of money, tons of money. But money is freely buy anything in free market. So if you don't have money, you're not free. You're just controlled.
Yeah, you're not able to play. Yeah.
And after that, I mean, all the public like infrastructure and everything are basically privatized, and people started to make money out of owning a company. And everything is the market. You're always in a very, very heavy competition, and you really have to. You're under pressure to make money, there's a profit every year.
Yeah.
And I think people's greed brought this situation here in the world. I guess after, of course, the market is the key factor to it, but I think it all started in the 1980s.
In the 80s, okay. Do you think it's because it seems to me like the movement is, and this might be something that repeats throughout history, is that the nature of just wanting to one up another person, to have more or whatever, encourages that? Or, I mean, is that something fundamental in human nature? It's there's a handful of companies that own everything basically now. It didn't used to be like that at all, but they're, you have BlackRock and Vanguard, and they own everything. It's like, what's the next step after that? Like, you've
Well, after this, I think we're at the stage that this is not gonna work. I mean,
it's gotta break somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, I think the reason why we became like this is that I guess anxiety and threat. I mean, if you're owner of the company, and if you don't make very much of money, you're always have a threat to be bought by someone else. I mean, it's like always capitalists and those investors are a big eater of other capital and other companies. So you're always under threat to be bought if you don't make enough money. So I think I don't know. It's maybe like it's more out of greed, or maybe like more out of threat or
fear.
Anxiety, fear.
Yeah. Because it seems to me, if I owned a company, for example, and I were committed to my ideals, and we've reached a certain level, and we would be a target for a buyout or something like that. As the owner of the company, if I was offered, and probably what happens for most people is they're offered a huge, amount of money for your company, and they would obviously, they would jump at the opportunity. Okay, $100 million or $500 million for your company or whatever, and if they're overcome by greed, if they're not committed to their ideals, then, and it's not necessarily a bad thing, it's human nature, but they would sell to the whoever's acquiring, and then they would be fine, but their company would be taken in a different direction. But I think what's on a small scale, you're starting to see some companies that they don't want to go public because they want to avoid that. Some people, some founders who have very, very strong ideals, and it's to them it's not necessarily about the money. It's about keeping their company in line with their founding principles. And of course, it's a very small percentage of companies total, but there's an emerging group of founders and of managers that are, I think, sticking to their principles like that. But I think, when you look at it, it's basically the reason why people sell is because they're offered such enormous sums of money, and that happens. But then ultimately, another thing I've realized from research is a lot of these people who end up selling their companies regret having done that when they see the direction it goes. Momentarily they are satisfied with, of course, the profits that they receive, but then when they see, like, okay, well, this is not our mission, what we had started with,
Yeah, that's why small companies are the key. I mean, they're not on sale, so they're more sticking to their original ideas, or they like to do what they originally wanted to do. So I mean, the system of capitalism is not going to change for instantly, but we still have something to do. If there's something we can do, if stick to your own mind, and you do whatever you want to do, and I think, again, that's the key. I mean, a lot of things are happening around the world, but you always stick to your own mind, and do your own thing. If you're an owner of the company, you have an employee, so what you do is have a certain impact to the society or economy. So I think that's the hope. I mean, there's hope in yourself, always.
Yeah, there always is. I think
individuals.
It's like you said. I mean, everything basically boils down to being true to yourself.
Yeah. I mean, everything. Yeah, that's the message I would like to give to people right now. Yeah, thanks for your time.
Thanks again. Another great talk.
Nice talking to you again.
Yeah.
So we come to this Kanto once in about 1 or 2 months.
Yeah.
So I drove by again.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Nice talking. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. All right. Talk to you later.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.